Okay, I'm gonna read this scripture to you. 2 Corinthians chapter 13. I'm gonna read verse 23. I'm not gonna read to 30, but when you get a chance, you can read 2 Corinthians chapter 11. I'm sorry, verse 23 through 30. Are they ministers of Christ? I speak as a fool. I am more in labor, more abundant in stripes, above measure in prisons. This is Paul. More frequent in prisons, more frequent in deaths oft. Of the Jews 5 times received I 40 stripes, save one. He received 195 stripes. Jesus received 39 stripes.
Oh, wow.
They said a normal man would have died at 39 stripes.
Wow.
But here's two accounts where two people, Jesus and himself, had received at least 39 stripes or more and did not die. Thrice was I beaten with rods. Once was I stoned. Thrice I suffered shipwreck. At night and a day have I been in the deep. In journeys often, in perils of water, in perils of robbers, in perils of mine own countrymen, in perils by the heathen, in perils in the city, in perils in the wilderness. He basically saying, I've had this hell here, this hell there, this hell there, in perils in the wilderness, yes, in perils in the sea, in perils among false brethren, in weariness and painfulness, in watchings often, in hunger and thirst, in fastings often, in cold and nakedness, besides those things that are without, that which cometh upon me daily. Remember, he had the thorn. This is Paul. The care of all the churches, the care of all the people are also resting on his shoulder on top of everything that he's encountered. Who is weak? He says, and I am not weak. He says, who is offended? He says, and I burn not. Verse 30. If I must needs glory, I will glory of the things which concern mine infirmities. Paul wanted to be, I went to my old church yesterday, and this message I got was really to revive me in the work of the ministry. In the work of the ministry. Because sometimes we really get tired in ministry. Because we have really emptied out ourselves, poured out ourselves, as Pastor would say, canosed ourselves. In this text, the sacrifice he talks about being a drink sacrifice. Which a drink sacrifice was a measure of wine that was poured on the sacrifice as it was burning, that it evaporated to offer up a sweet aroma. So, in other words, when I was listening to this passage and listening to everything, I began to understand in my life why I am who I am, and why God designed me to have my eyes open at 30 years old. Because of the simple fact of what God designed me to be is he designed me to be a libation. Let me tell you what the word libation means. Libation is a word that is used to mean an outpouring. So what God did was basically God designed me to be an individual who is constantly outpouring. In other words, even when my cup feels empty, I still got to. Even when I don't feel like I got nothing in there, I still got to. Because Paul was wanting to be a sacrifice. He was wanting to be a libation for God. He wanted to be that drink sacrifice that was poured out and evaporated up as a sweet aroma. And he wanted to do that in his service. Not, watch this. See, so many times we all want the position, we want the power, we want the money, we want the place. Yes, but we don't want the work. We don't want God to be magnified. Paul said in the same chapter, he said, I want God to be magnified.
So we want the position, the power, the prestige, but when it comes to the work, that's when it really comes to a point of, okay, are you trying to get man to magnify you, or are you trying to get man to magnify God?
Right.
Or are you trying to be Are you trying to be seen, or do you want God to be seen?
Right. And it's so imperative. When the Lord gave me the word that He gave me last night, the word He gave me was, He said, your pastor's vision is the year of fresh wind. And He began to speak to me and tell me that you have been refreshed. Quit allowing the enemy to keep you in bondage. When we